And welcome back to the channel. Today we have an exciting new product for the NSX. This is a MITA Motorsports shifter and shift knob. MITA reached out to me and wanted me to review the product, so they sent out their shift knob and their short shifter. So let's go ahead and unbox them. And here's what comes in the packaging. So everything right here, the spacer, the shifter extension, and the shifter itself is a part of the shifter when you purchase it, and the shift knob is purchased separately. So if you're not familiar, this is basically a reverse engineered product, OEM product. The NA1 Type R NSX came with this style shifter, but it only came in the right-hand drive market. So what MITA did was reverse engineer it for the left-hand drive market, and so this is what we have here. And the reason why there's a shifter extension is because the NA1 NSX Type R comes a little differently. The shifter comes female, and the shift knob has a male portion on it for the OEM knob. So MITA created this piece to put in here so you can put any traditional knob. Traditionally, knobs are female threaded. So in this video, I'm going to compare this shifter against the OEM USDM shifter, as well as the OEM Zanardi/Type S shifter, which I have in my car. So let's jump right into build quality comparisons, because MITA does advertise this as a one-piece design as compared to the OEM shifter, which is a two-piece design. You can see that there's a weld right here. There is a little bit of weight savings. I'll show you the weight comparisons in a second. But this is a cast steel piece, and it is slightly rough in a few spots. First off, the ball right here. One of the things I'm probably going to want to do is polish this off. You probably don't have to do it, but I'm going to polish this off just like the OEM piece. And when I noticed, it's kind of hard to see, but the bottom of this ball on the MITA shifter is kind of oblong right here, so it's not perfectly round. There's kind of a flat spot on this like 4 o'clock positioning. So I'm not sure if how that's going to affect it. Also, being that it's a cast steel piece, these threads may or may not need some cleaning up, at least on the very, very bottom. I'm not sure if anything will thread that far down, but you can see it's slightly rough, so I might have to run a die along that and clean it up. But let's go ahead and get into weights. So the MITA shifter with the extension rod, because that's probably how most people are going to run it, is 10.8 ounces. Without the rod, 9.8 ounces. So 1 ounce difference. The OEM USDM shifter is 12 ounces. All right, we have the shifter out of the car. This is not gonna be a rebuild video or a DIY video on how to install this. This is gonna be merely a video reviewing the MITA shifter. So I'm gonna go ahead and zip this apart and install the MITA shifter. Okay, so looking at the MITA shifter, it is a pretty nice product. I did do a few things to clean it up. I did bore this out a little bit. That's optional. That's to fit this piece in here a little bit easier. This does fit in here without boring it out, but I wanted it to slide in a little bit easier, that's all. And then I did round this out a little bit and polish it up. It is a slight bit rough for MITA, but it is usable, no problems at all fitting this pivot on here. But again, that's optional. I just wanted to clean that up for my own sake. So let's go ahead and get this assembled. I am using super high temp urea grease. I'm not sure if this is what the OEM, I think you said like molybdenum or something like that, but this is what we use for the S2000, or what Honda recommends for S2000 shifter. So that's what I'm using here for the NSX. I'm sure it should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and make sure you have both O-rings on each side. So see here, pivots nicely, nice and smooth. And we're gonna go ahead and make sure that it's kind of even on both sides. And we're gonna go ahead and put some more lube in here in the pivot and press this guy on. Okay, and I should mention there is a divot in this pivot, and here's the part number if you wanted to buy a new pivot, 54210 SM4000, and that divot is for this part number right here. Big thanks to Eugene for pointing this out to me. I had no idea. 54211 SD9010. It is this tiny little ball, and it fits in this little detent. I think that's supposed to clean up a little slop in here, and it sits, this square piece sits in this part of the shifter. So a lot of people are missing that. My shifter was missing that, or I didn't realize it was in there when the first time I took my shifter out and it fell out. So if you need this piece, make sure you purchase it ahead of time. And then we're just gonna go ahead and reinstall everything. Make sure this moves smoothly. And I'm going to grab the little ball here. Be very careful not to let it roll away. And admittedly, I'm not sure whether this square, the ball goes on the top side or the bottom side. So I'm just gonna put it on the top side so it doesn't get lost that easily. So it sits in there like that. Stays in there pretty nicely. And I'm going to put a little bit of grease on there, top and bottom, slide it in. It's a little bit of force to fit in there, but it really cleans up the slop. Next, we insert the long bolt, the nut. Looks good. So MITA does provide you a washer. The OEM washers do have a D shape. As you can see here, there's a flat side. So you can see here that the OEM threaded post here has a flat side on it. So that's meant to coincide with the washer. So make sure that you don't try to reuse this on the MITA shifter, because the MITA shifter is fully rounded. So they do provide you a fully rounded washer to go on here after you put on the shift cables. Put on the shift cable, put on the washer, and then throw the nut on there, and then you'll be good to go. So let's throw this in the car and test out the shifter. Alright guys, so I have the MITA shifter installed here. It's a pretty solid product. Installation went fine. It drives really good, really nicely. It drives just like OEM. Probably the biggest difference that you're going to notice is the height of the shifter. So I'll throw up some pictures on the screen. So previously I had an OEM Zanardi / Type S shifter. And I was using actually the MITA countersunk shift knob. So the MITA countersunk shift knob is exactly like this knob. This is an OEM Type S knob, except it's countersunk. So the OEM Type S knob is not countersunk. So right where this shift knob ends is right where the threads of the MITA adapter rod ends and the top of the shifter begins. So that's something to note. MITA does say that they do not recommend using their countersunk shift knob with their shifter. The countersunk shift knob is mainly used for an OEM US shifter or OEM Zanardi shifter, just to get the shift knob to sit lower. Since this shifter is really low sitting, even with this OEM shift knob that's not countersunk on this MITA shifter, this setup sits lower. The height of the shift knob sits lower than the OEM shifter with the MITA countersunk knob. So again, you should be able to see that in the pictures. But overall, again, this MITA shifter seems pretty nice. Seems like a pretty good value for what it is. It's pretty awesome that MITA is still producing parts for the NSX and brand new parts. Brand new R&D went into this, design and everything like that. So really thankful that MITA gave me an opportunity to review this product. Pretty happy with it. So one thing to note is, another thing to note is MITA does not recommend you using this shifter with the Cedar Ridge short shift kit. So I do believe it will fit on there. I have heard of other people running it. But do that at your own risk. That's not what MITA recommends you do. So this right here, the MITA shifter with an OEM knob is pretty perfect. So again, this is the OEM Type S knob using their adapter rod. So it's a thread-in adapter rod that you just thread into your shifter, the MITA shifter, or you can buy the OEM NA1 Type R shift knob. That's a male threaded shift knob, and thread that into this shifter. So that'll sit even lower, I believe, because I believe that shift knob is even smaller in diameter and height. But we're gonna go on a test drive right now, and then I'll talk you guys through it. Okay, we're going on a test drive with the MITA shifter and OEM shift knob. No problems with shifting at all. Shifting is perfectly smooth, no matter what gear you go into. I think it's crucial to point out that there's two types or two methods of achieving a short shifter. This is one of them, meaning a short height shifter. This shifter physically shortens the height, which does shorten the linear throw a bit of your shifter. It shortens the distance, from end to end of your shifter. However, there's another method of achieving a short shifter, which is lengthening the distance of the pivot to the your shifter cables, in this case, which is what the Cedar Ridge kit does. So I did have the Cedar Ridge kit with my Zanardi shifter or my Type S shifter, and the shifts did feel a little bit shorter than this MITA shifter. However, you're not going to achieve this short height, physical height of the shifter with the Zanardi or Type S shifter. You're only going to get that with the MITA shifter. So again, you could possibly combine the MITA shifter with the CRF short shift kit. MITA does not recommend that, but you can try it at your own risk. I probably will try that in the future. But this shifter, again, is very smooth. everything feels tight. No, zero issues. Zero issues installing it.